It's really great, first of all, to be back here once again, but for a different purpose. So first of all, let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Prin, and I am the alumni of the TEDxEkamaiIntlSchool International School a couple of years back. And I was lucky enough to got myself into a law school in Thailand, Thammasat University. But it's really hard that I have to admit that I'm a very lazy student. I rarely attend the classes, and I'm a very dedicated gamer. PC, I'm sorry, consoles. I got more than 3,000 hours in Dota 2, and I'm a conqueror in ROV, if that makes any sense to you guys. I finished Witcher, the series, and all of them, and I watched Japanese anime, and I'm an openly Japanese anime otaku. Yeah, that's probably difficult to come out just like that. Yeah, but I managed to graduate from Thammasat Law School with a GPA of 3.99 on law subjects. And today I will tell you how I did it in a topic called How to Be a Smart Student. Emphasis on smart student, not a smart person, but a smart student. Let me tell about how it's relevant to you all. Well, first of all, let us define what smart student is. Smart student is how to get good marks being a lazy donkey like me. So, let me give you an example. Any one of you watch Japanese animation and know Doraemon, right? There you go. You guys probably know Nobita. About Nobita. What's the most unique feature about him? Well, he studies a lot, but he never actually achieved good grades. Why? And you have that one friend of yours that studied way lesser than you do, but got higher scores. Where is fairness in that? It's unfair. It's just outright unfair. The harsh truth here that I'm telling you all is that your study method might just not be as efficient as theirs. And I will tell you today some rule of thumbs on how to be a smart student. 4 rules, 3 do's and 1 don't. First, do know yourself. Second, do pick your battles. Third, do think like your professors. And fourth, do not lose track of the bigger picture. On the first point, do know yourself. 2 subpoints. What environment do you study in that you're very comfortable? In another word, which environment do you study in best? Is it in a cafe where there's a cacophony of barista brewing, receiving orders and random conversations going on around you? Or is it in a library? Silence. Nothing. Void of any disturbance. Or is it in your house, at home, when you're most comfortable and you're cozy with? I am raised, and I was told growing up that library is the best place that you're supposed to study in because it's quiet and there's no distraction. But I discovered into my law school that that's not the case. And I cannot study in a library because I fell asleep with that silence. I need a little bit of noise, a little bit of that disturbance, a little bit of chaos, because there's method in madness, right? So I tried and studied in cafe. And with that, receiving orders and people brewing, I find it really works well. And I can sit an entire day in a cafe, of course, going into the toilet as well. I can sit an entire day in a cafe just to revise, just like that. Some of you might find it more better to study in other places. Some might find it better to study in study groups. Some find it more productive to be alone and study. Your most suitable environment equates a lot and talks a lot on your productivity gain in that one sitting of yours, right? That's the first main point. On second point, do you know which type of a student you are? Are you a visual learner, learning by doing? Or are you perhaps someone that have to write down everything to be able to understand and memorize them? For me, I like to talk, right? A lot of teachers here that probably taught me can attest to that fact. So I find it best how I learn is when I explain things to other people. When I explain difficult concepts to my friends, I find it that I have to simplify all those difficult concepts into points and compartmentalize the ideas in a way that my friends will be able to understand. And you're going to do the same thing in the exam paper as well. So if you cannot explain it to your friends, then you might find it very difficult to explain it to your professors through an exam paper. So do know yourself which type of a student are you, and you will find it very productive to study regarding your study method. On the second rule, do pick your battles. In high school, you might not have a lot of electives, but when you go to college, you will have a lot more freedom to pick and choose your subjects. You can cherry pick which one you want to study, which one you don't want to. My advice to you, don't pick your subjects because your friends are picking it. Don't pick your subjects because your crush is studying in that subject like I did. Right? You don't want to do that. Because at the end of the day, everyone is responsible for themselves, for their own grades. So you want to pick the subjects that you like, that you feel you will do well. Of course, there will be a graduation subject list, so pick that, right? And the electives that you like. So pick your battles, that's very important. Third, very important point, do think like your professors. 2 sub-points on that. First, I want you to try to get to know your professor as you're teaching. Say you get into college, you have a professor teaching couples of hundreds of hours on that single course. Attend his class. See what he talks about the most, what he's interested in, what are his topics or his theses or dissertations that he had written. What does he think is very interesting in his topic, although there might not be any. My point is that those are very necessary for you to speculate the topic of coverage. Because if you ask your professor what's going to come out, he's going to say everything, just go look at your lecture's notes. And I did, and that does not help. So it takes a lot of skills, a lot of practice to listen and be able to think like your professor so that you're able to speculate the coverage of the exam. First subpoint. On the second subpoint, I want you to think, because when you go to college, most of your exams are going to be in essays. Imagine your professors grading thousands of essays paper, and you're just one in that. How do you make your essay very simple, carry the point across, effective, and simple to follow? How do you do that? Because you don't want to make the professor's life more complicated than it currently is for the professors, just to get back at them, right? You want to get scores. You want to be able to get good marks. So the key to getting good marks is to write a very simple, very effective essays. But how do you do that? Easy. Structure. And this works in any major. Because if you have a few points, one gigantic principle to talk about, break that down into structures and put it in separate compartmentalized ideas. And now it's very easy to follow. Well, for example, if the question is, why do you think turtle won against the rabbit in the tale? You probably heard about the tale in the past. Well, there are 3 main things that you want to talk about, but you have ideas floating all around you. Grab that. You want to be able to word them in separate phrases in a paragraph. And separating them into paragraphs is very important because if you just write an entire chunk filled with 20 ideas, that's not going to work out for you. And professor's going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy does not know what he's talking about, although it's a very good essay. So break that down. You want to be able to tell how the turtle won against the rabbit in 3 main points. Say perseverance, the rabbit's overestimation of the turtle, and grit. So do put that on separate paragraph, well analyzed, and put a signpost, very important, ladies and gentlemen, put down signposts on your essay. So first, I will be talking about how Turtle would be able to, was able to win against the rabbit on 3 main points: perseverance, overconfidence, and grit. And I will turn to those points in turn. Firstly, on the first point, there is this point of perseverance. Analyze them. Moving on to the second point. Now there's your second point, and then there's your third point. Very important, because imagine you're reading thousands of papers. Your signpost, tell them that you know what you're doing, although you may not. And you will be able to guide them through your essays, through your thought process, really, really easily with those signposts. So do adopt that. And that's going to help you out a lot in grading your exam, in being able to score really well in the exam. Fourth point, do not lose track of the bigger pictures. What does it mean in a bigger picture? So when you study for exams in college, there will be a gigantic main idea, and then the teacher will break it down, the professor will break it down into several points. And then you study its separate points in separate lectures, classes. So when I say do not lose track of the bigger picture, it means that you always have to need the ability to be able to zoom in and zoom out, no matter which part of the revision you're in. Say you're studying in this part. You must be able to answer yourself, why am I studying this part? Is it to answer the bigger picture or to justify this point that you're trying to justify? Say you memorize those dates, those names, their birthdays of the philosophers, cases, numbers. For what reasons? You will not gain marks from just memorizing them, but you will gain marks for using that points or those tiny points to supplement your entire idea of the bigger picture that you're trying to paint. So you must have the ability to zoom in and zoom out from the point of your revision or where you're at. And you will not lose track of the bigger picture. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, those are the 4 rules that I find very useful. That is a little bit of tiny pieces that may or may not fit in your entire puzzle. There is no one-size-fits-all solution for how to be a smart student. I cannot tell you which environment you would probably excel in the most. I'll leave it for you all to decide. So those are the ideas. And if you disagree or have any other idea of how to be a smart student, feel free to leave your comments down below, and don't forget to click subscribe to this TEDx channel to don't miss any fun videos coming out from TEDx. Peace. Thank you very much, guys.